Hey folks, welcome back to Let's Play Metal Gear Rising Revengeance on the Mysterious JG. We're done talking to Boris for the time being. Now we can talk to Kevin, and I found out between videos he is voice acted by Phil Lamar, who does Vamp in the other Metal Gear Solid game. So that's kind of a neat coincidence. Doesn't really do that much to make Kevin a super fascinating character. But let's see what Kevin has to say.
You get all that, Kev? The woman with Dosayev. That's Miss Trall?
Yep. The only female member of the Winds of Destruction.
Yeah, I guess they've got some hiring policies they need to update.
A cold, dry regional wind in France that blows from the Alps down to the Mediterranean.
She French?
Yep. Born in Algeria, though. It was a French
she's
colony
blowing
until
kisses
they declared
and stuff.
independence in
She's
the early
French.
60s.
They're all like
But
sexual,
you already knew that.
know.
Yeah. They were the last French colony in Africa.
You know your history. Plenty of French colonial families still live there. Pied Noir, they're called.
I've heard the term. The main character in that Camus novel, The Stranger, was one.
Oh, you're very well
Also
read.
find a lot of Algerians who've immigrated to France. Although they put a stop to that a while ago.
What? Racism
Yeah.
in France?
A lot of European countries seem to be clamping down on immigration
Yeah,
lately.
this game was written in
Miss
the
Trall
early
joined the Foreign
2000s.
Legion to get her citizenship.
A woman legionnaire?
And not the first. There was one that served in the North Africa campaign during World War II. Anyway, Miss Trall's been doing PMC work ever since her Legion discharge. We're not sure why she went cyborg.
But they say once you go
She's
cyborg, you never
officially
go back.
leading the force at the refinery, but she is also a combatant. Don't have anything on her combat style, but do not underestimate her. The Winds of Destruction are trained killers, all of them. They didn't let her in because of her look.
That was just a nice
I don't need
sideline.
a reminder. I won't let my guard down.
Yeah, but, speaking of her looks, she's got, well, I mean, a couple of, huge...
Couple of... It's
Look,
not
just
written
don't
up there.
get distracted, okay?
Like me.
Sounds like you should take your own advice there, Kev.
Down where, Kev? So she's got boobs. Got it.
So, Kev, what exactly goes on here anyway? I mean, obviously refining oil, but what else involved with that? How careful do I need to
Well,
be?
I mean, it's not like the Big
Skip
Shell,
that week in
or
science
it's
class,
just like a
huh?
refinery place,
All
right?
right.
No,
How much
I
do
don't
you
know.
know already?
Just the basics. They take crude and refine it into gas and stuff. Other usable fuels, right?
Well,
I don't know
yeah,
as much about this
and
as I know
stuff.
about, like, Camus.
Kerosene, liquefied petroleum gas, naphtha, jet fuel,
Naphtha.
the raw material for ethylene, which is then the raw material for polyethylene and other plastics.
There's 8
Crude
levels
oil's
of raw
used for a
material
lot
going
more
on
than
here.
just fuel, you know. These days, it's the core component of just about every chemical product.
Okay.
Crude contains a lot of molecular hydrocarbons and
What was that
impurities.
line read
The
from
refinery
Raiden?
distills and
Okay.
extracts these
Like, I don't
hydrocarbons
get
at
it.
different boiling points. Once the impurities
Is
are
he
removed,
bored with the
what's
answer to
left
the
can be
question
used
that
to
he
make gasoline
asked?
and so on.
Right. So, pretty much exactly what I said in the first place.
Oh, well, if you know all this already, I guess we're done here.
Fuck you then.
I could use a bit more detail on...
All right, cool then. Kevin out.
I want to know more about Miss Trall's boobs.
Hey, so, Kev, buddy, about the refinery. Can I get a quick breakdown of the facilities?
No.
Copy that. I suppose you should at least know a few basics for the mission. So, like I was saying, the refining process is based around distillation. The tallest building on site is the
Seems like a lot of the
distillation
dialogue
tower.
is making fun
All
of the
the crude
concept
oil runs
of
through
why
there
would you
first,
listen to
where
all
it's
this
distilled at
dialogue.
different boiling ranges. Lighter components with low boiling points are removed at the top of the tower, heavier ones at the base. The heaviest fuel oil then has the lighter oils and naphtha that distillation didn't remove taken out. Fluid catalytic cracking is what they call it. Other than that, let's see. There's equipment to remove sulfur, a cooling tower to dispose of all the water used,
Really, you just gotta navigate up a
and the
bridge
flare
and fight a
set
bunch of
to
cyborgs, so...
eliminate gas waste. You see that thing with flames shooting out the top? That's the stack.
It's burning the gas off?
Yeah, burns it up completely, rendering it harmless. Kinda hypnotic if you stare at it a while, huh?
I like
Next
the
door you have a
flames.
power plant. Pretty typical for this type of facility. And of course the gas tanks. Liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, is pressurized and stored in those round tanks. It's also artificial, but it's got a certain charm, you know? Like the ultimate in utilitarian beauty.
I prefer all natural
Solitary
gas
distillation
refineries.
tower, all lit up and set against the setting sun. It's an amazing sight.
Kev, you still with me there?
It sounded like
What?
Solid Snake
You
talking
don't
about the
appreciate this
box.
kind of stuff? Places like Germany and Japan, people get really into it. Factory sightseeing tours and everything.
Yeah, well, they're the axis of evil, so...
No.
The literal
So
axis,
much.
I guess.
Right. FYI, we just confirmed with the client for your next mission.
Oh, cool.
Great. How about we finish this one first, though?
Fine, whatever.
I'd like to see my family again someday, you know? My son's going to forget he even has a father.
Lucky him.
90-day contracting tour, buddy. We're all in the same boat. Man, feels like ages since I was back in Virginia.
I
She
don't know
misses me a
about in
lot.
the same boat. These guys are out to tear me limb from limb. Worst you are EMF desk jockeys have to worry about are paper cuts.
Okay, let's get nasty for no
All
reason,
right.
Raiden.
Guess you don't want to hear what your old friends are up to then.
Who is
What
it?
I've been doing with your wife.
Desperado.
Where is it this time?
Mexico. Apparently they've got some kind of lab in Guadalajara. You're going in to investigate claims of human trafficking and illegal dumping.
And our client? Who's picking up the tab? If we're planning to play police all of a sudden, we're gonna need some kind of budget.
No worries there. It's a human rights group we've worked with a few times before. They were conducting their own trafficking investigation when Desperado came up.
They're super rich for
Understood.
some reason.
You can brief me when I get back.
Roger that.
No reason to talk about it now. Like, literally, why are we talking about it
Hey,
now?
Kev, that piece of shit who killed Imani, is he one of those almighty winds?
Yeah, it's the Chili
Yeah.
Reno wind.
Goes by Sundowner. It's a folk name for this warm air current in Southern California. He's also, well, not the formal head of Desperado, but pretty much their de facto leader. Let's see. Born in Alabama, family was poor.
So, born in Alabama.
Solid student, decent grades, but no money
Sorry,
for college,
Alabama,
so he joined the
right.
Army. Says he fought in Panama in '89, then Iraq again, Afghanistan. In 2008, he drops out of the service and starts doing merc work for various PMCs.
Wow,
He
that's
was active
shocking. The
all through the
PMC
SOP
dropped out of the
years.
Army to join
Built up
PMCs?
quite a reputation. Apparently, the Sundowner handle comes from all the blood he leaves behind. Looks like the sunset.
Yeah,
anyway,
assuming the sunset's
an
made of
IED
blood.
put him out of action for a few years. But then, cyborg tech brought him out of retirement. The Army investigated him for possible war crimes. A few times, looks like.
But Trump demanded that he get his full
torturing
Trident
POWs,
honors.
Some wrongful deaths. No convictions, though.
Pretty rosy past, huh? Not that I'm one to talk.
Good point.
Hey, come on, buddy. You know that's not fair. You were just a kid. You didn't know what you were doing.
Sundowner's
Yeah,
been
not like they
murdering
gave you a
since he was an
choice.
infant, though.
Yeah. Thanks, Kev.
Down work, Kev.
Kev, you dig up anything more on Jetstream
I
Sam?
keep kicking myself
Yeah,
every time there's
actually a
another
bit.
one.
Still a lot of missing pieces.
I'll take what I can.
Well, he's
Right.
got his own DLC.
Full name, Samuel Rodriguez. Born in Brazil, so I guess that'd be more like Samuel Rodriguez. He's actually not one of the Winds of Destruction. He's not even a Desperado employee.
And I'm not racist. I
Yeah.
was just trying to
Didn't
be
seem like a
authentic
typical
with his
PMC to
name.
me.
His father ran a Brazilian Kenjutsu dojo.
Genjutsu.
His father was named
That's a school
Blanca.
of Japanese swordplay.
Mm-hmm. A lot of Japanese immigrated to Brazil way back when. They brought martial arts with them.
Oh, I wonder why they did
Those
that.
evolved and became their own offshoots. You've heard of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right?
Yeah, it's when you
It's their
electrify
variation
yourself
of
and
judo.
shoot across the screen with a
Brazilian
spinning ball.
Kenjutsu's the same kind of thing. A different evolution of the old samurai sword skills. Bit of capoeira and some other stuff mixed in. Anyway, I did some digging. Apparently, the Rodriguez dojo was a big proponent of the Uradachi style.
That's a type of
Uridachi.
uncooked fish.
A.K.A. Setsujinken, the murdering sword. Basically the polar opposite of my sword of
In
justice.
terms of lame
Rodriguez
thematics.
Kenjutsu uses kicks, sword butts, even throws.
Sword butts.
Unpredictable,
Look out, Ivan's got a
very
sword
deadly.
butt.
Anyway, this is interesting. Sam's father was killed by one of his pupils.
Sam's father was
There
killed
were
by a
rumors one of the
six-fingered
cartels was
man.
involved, but it's not clear how or why. After that, Sam disappears for a while, then comes back, kills the guy who killed his dad, and leaves Brazil.
Becomes the
He
Dread
traveled
Pirate
the world for a while,
Roberts.
taking odd jobs, bodyguard, cleaner for the mob, etc., etc. Made a big name for himself in the criminal underworld, especially in Central and South America. One story has Sam taking out a mafia hit squad, 10 men, all with assault rifles, using only his sword.
Not unheard of for a cyborg.
This was back in the early 2000s.
Come
What?
on. He did that without enhancements? And pre-SOP?
That's the story anyway. And he's a cyborg now, so he could only be stronger.
And cyborg
Not
gear.
to freak you out or anything.
I told you, Kev. I got a reading on his fighting style from last time, and my body's been upgraded. I'll be fine.
My body's just so totally cool.
I know you will be.
Hey, Kev. You have anything on that sword Sam was using?
Yeah, it's a
Didn't
sword,
seem
so
like your
what?
garden variety, high-frequency blade.
It's not. It's a samurai sword. The real deal.
It was made by future Hattori
16th century
Hanzo.
make, handed down in his family ever since. Sam had it recast as a high-frequency blade. Doesn't say by who.
Or how that would work.
Is this something I need to worry about?
Maybe. You know the basics of sword making, right? The harder the metal, the better it cuts, but also the more brittle it is. So a sword's gotta be sturdy, but also just pliable enough to absorb shock without breaking. Walking that line, striking that balance, that's what makes sword crafting an art.
Like finger painting.
Japanese swords fuse different types of iron, each with different amounts of carbon. Different levels of flexibility, in other words. So the blade can be tough and razor sharp.
And that gets multiplied when the sword gets the HF treatment?
Yeah. Basically, the high-frequency upgrade sets the blade vibrating really, really fast, right?
Well, tell me more about that.
Vibration acts on the electron shells of atoms in the sword and the local electromagnetic field. When the EMF achieves resonance, the blade's bonding is strengthened. At a quantum level, it's like the entire sword is made up of the exact same particle type. It also disrupts any atoms it comes into contact with. Say, those that make up the target. Their electron clouds shrink from exposure to quantum decoherence at the Planck scale. In other words, it electrically severs the bonds that keep the target's atoms together.
You lost me around the EMF part.
Oh, you mean oomph?
And that's the dumbed-down explanation. To be honest, even I don't understand
The
all
point is, technobabble bullshit, cyborg
HF
ninja.
upgrade is like an amplifier. It multiplies what's already there. So Sam's badass blade might give him the edge. I mean, you know what I mean.
The original sword was really that good?
Well,
Sounds
killed like a
it.
billion mafia
Says
guys
here
or
it's
whatever.
a Murasama blade.
Murasama. Sounds familiar.
But it's not as good as a
One of the top
Masamune.
10 best-known sword makers worldwide. Easy. In Japan, he is legendary. They say his swords thirst for blood. That they choose who will wield them. You know, that sort of thing.
Ooh, now I really am scared.
I know, right?
Japan's so stupid.
Where the hell did Desperado get all these cyborgs anyway, Kev?
Cyborg
Hard
hiring
to
agency.
say. They're not as rare as they once were, but still. Of all registered PMC troops, we're still talking, what, 3% have enhancements? Maybe 5% tops. Mostly career military who got hurt on the battlefield one way or another. Getting their arms or legs back lets them keep earning a living. But most able-bodied soldiers are still reluctant to sacrifice their own healthy body parts. Plus, the surgery is highly specialized. Expensive as hell. Not to mention maintenance costs
And
after
they
that.
charge you
Unless
separately
insurance
for
is
the
split
anesthesia.
bill,
I mean,
most
you
guys
think
couldn't
that's
afford
part of what's
enhancements
covered by
even
your
if they wanted
insurance,
to.
but no.
Maverick's got some cyborgs. What's their story? They all wounded in action?
Mostly. I heard a few saved up and paid for it themselves, but just a few. There is this one crazy blonde guy, though. I heard he asked for a full body conversion.
The Patriots didn't leave me much of a body to begin with.
And they still
I
have
just
my
had Herr
freaking
Doctor
blood.
finish what they started.
You know I'm just giving you shit, man. Anyway, yeah. Looking at the numbers, cyborg soldiers are still a pretty small minority.
But you know that
Really
Republican
surprising
voters
that
are
only
terrified of
contractors
them.
in developed countries are offered
Because they're a
insurance.
minority. That's the
Third
joke.
world soldiers get hurt out on the field, and that's all she wrote. They can't work as a merc anymore. Most times, they can't really work at all.
Well, Desperado's up to something, because cyborgs are definitely not in the minority here.
I've heard of some PMCs covering the cost of the surgery for their disabled. The mercs get their career back, sure, but the PMCs aren't exactly running a charity. These guys have to work to pay it off until the company at least breaks even on them. Any cyborg breaks his contract early would probably be in debt for the rest of his life.
You think that's Desperado's M.O.?
They're
I
Mo.
can't prove it, but sure as hell wouldn't surprise me.
Keep
So
going.
what kind of deal does Maverick offer its contractors?
We
yeah, I
own their
forgot you're
souls forever.
full-time, too. You never contracted with us?
Nope. Boris invited me on board the first time we talked about it. We've known each other since Area 51. Didn't have any reason to turn him down, so, yeah. Never really considered the contract route.
Right. Well, It's actually pretty rare for guys on the ground like you to be full-timers. Most of Maverick soldiers are contractors, just like with any other PMC. It just makes sense.
No way, we don't have to give them medical.
It's never the same job twice in this business. Each mission has its own requirements. Force size, skill set, all that crap. So generally, we contract out on a per-mission basis, or a fixed schedule for longer jobs. A lot of U.S. companies are doing it that way lately, not just PMCs.
Delaware corpse.
Besides, a good contractor can earn more than most regular full-time employees. Definitely a hell of a lot more than regular military.
And if they want to quit, can they get out of their contract?
Yep. Of course, just up and quitting right in the middle of a mission would cause problems. Just like any other job, you know? We'd want some notice to settle on a new end date, but hold up. You're not thinking of leaving us, are you?
Yeah, not till the end of the game.
Just curious. You still busy with all that other work, Kev?
Yes, and
You
he
know
hangs
me,
up.
man. Kev of all trades. I got a lot on my plate. Briefing prep, arms procurement, client negotiation, HR, biz dev, accounting, you name it. Lately, though,
Biz dev
I've been
and accounting,
focusing
huh?
more on sales and on-site coordination. Oh, and advisor work like this.
Never sleep, do you?
Things have been better since Courtney joined up, at least.
At least I got something to look at, you know what I'm saying?
You still busy with all that other work, Kev?
You know, briefing lately, though.
Never.
Alright.
Raiden, you need to save?
Sure, why not? I've wasted
Did you
healing
catch all
and
that?
I'm in a
With
terrible
Dosaev
shape,
and
so why
Mistral?
not?
Yeah, I was monitoring the whole time. Dolzaev's not really what I expected.
I expected a smaller
I've seen his
hat.
file, plenty of photos, but I guess I expected someone more, I don't know, threatening?
Didn't seem too friendly to me.
No, I mean, you hear terrorist, you think of some cold, calculating professional. Dolzaev looks more like some guy off the
He was
street.
waving a gun around in the
Cold,
face of a
calculating
woman,
professional
so...
types don't usually bother with terrorism. It's too risky. Most terrorists are ordinary people, radicalized one way or another.
For example, when I was
Yeah,
a terrorist...
I guess so.
Of course, that doesn't make what they do any easier to forgive. What about Miss Tra? What'd you think?
She has big,
Well, she's certainly attractive. Probably
Could
an
barely see
artificial
her.
face, though. I'm guessing most of her is artificial.
Mm-hmm.
Roger that.
Because enhanced cyber boobs.
So Mistral's from Algeria. Have you ever been?
No. You?
Once, for a consulting job. Pretty short trip, though.
I
I
got
hear it's
giant
pretty safe
cyborg
now,
boobs there.
compared to how things were at the start of this decade.
Yeah, I was able to slip a little sightseeing in. Pretty nice spot for a vacation. Kind of hot, though. 80% of it's the Saharan desert, and wow, it was just like you'd imagine. So much sand.
Oh my god,
You
look
can
at all that
easily
sand.
imagine camel caravans trekking beneath the early evening moon. It was like something from another world.
Another
Yeah?
world story.
I thought only a sixth of the Sahara was sandy like that. The French carried out a bunch of nuclear tests there too, I remember.
But once you reach the Mediterranean coast, it's a totally different place. All these white-walled buildings framed against intense blue sea. It's a really stark contrast.
Were you in Algiers? I know that the capital looks a lot like that.
Yep. The local cuisine's totally French-influenced. I'll never forget this one lunch near my hotel. A baguette sandwich and a café au lait. Simple and simply unforgettable. Oh, there were a bunch of sweet shops in town, too.
Girls
High-quality
sure do
European
like
but
candy.
So cheap.
Sounds like you ate your way across the country.
You fat cow.
Well, food's an important part of local culture, you know. Oh, and speaking of which, the seafood. I didn't expect to see Mediterranean fish in African cuisine, but it was also fresh.
But then
and
it occurred to me that
flavorful.
Africa is on the
They fry a
Mediterranean
small
Sea,
fish
so...
whole, then drizzle them with lemon juice. I could have eaten that all day.
Sounds like a lot of calories.
I tried to stay active, you know.
Hey, did you know my visual analyzers can tell me how much someone weighs?
Yeah, I'll have to talk with Doc about disabling that one.
Because women are obsessed with their weight.
Hey, Courtney, have you ever
You know,
tried
you only got
Abkhaz
one female
cuisine?
character. You gotta cram all of the,
Georgian, yes, but I mean,
stuff in
I don't
there.
really know much about Abkhazia, so it'd be nice to try it though, since we're this close and all.
Huh. Even you haven't tried it?
I think we've heard
Now
this
I'm really
one, possibly.
What do you mean? mean, even me?
I mean, you're a
Well,
fat cow.
before we head to any new
Oh, plus.
Okay.
Well, like, yeah.
Georgian.
They said apparently.
All right.
Hey, Doc. Kev mentioned a lot of the high-ranking military were brain-jacked. Can you give me any more on that?
Like, tell me what brain jacked means.
It's not my area of expertise, but I have working knowledge of such matters, yes. Much of it is similar to cybernetics, you know.
Makes sense. A cyborg's frame is reading signals directly from the brain.
Indeed.
Insane in the
Brainjacking
membrane.
employs nanomachines to stop these signals from reaching a normal body. The pilot can then substitute their own signals and control the victim. They can govern all motor movement, but not the victim's thoughts. It is not mind control. More like a puppet. The subject will not move on their own. The pilot must send control signals.
You can't just implant an idea like a hypnotist.
Well, I mean, you could, but that
You
wouldn't
must
work.
manipulate them directly. Now, there are several methods for doing this. The pilot can act out the
I still don't really get his little,
desired
like,
behavior and send
string
the resulting
tie.
electric impulses in real time. For example, the master raises his right hand, the victim does the same. The master says, Arschgeige, and the victim does as well.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
getting weird now.
I get the idea, Doc.
Another method is to set an AI in control as a victim. Less convincing, but less labor-intensive. The AI can access the subject's memory center, at least, to recognize acquaintances and the like.
But anyone looks really closely, and the gig is up.
Mm-hmm. Mimicking behavior from surface memories is difficult, you know. Quite difficult. AIs are still very poor at replicating more subtle cues, such as the manner of speaking. As a result, often the victim can barely pass as a human, much less any certain individual.
Unless that
With the
human
current
is,
tech, a passing acquaintance
you know,
might be fooled, but
never mind.
not a close friend.
insert
Not
joke
for long.
about some
Good.
celebrity who
The
is kind
idea
of robotic in
AIs
their
controlling
demeanor, because I
people is
totally
bad
fucked that up.
enough. At least I'll be able to tell if it happens to someone I know. So, Doc, if brainjacking can access someone's memory, can't we basically see everything in their past?
Well, you can see
Well,
what they
that would
remember, whether
depend
it's
on
accurate or
precisely
not.
what you mean by see their past. The brain does not store every single detail the senses take in, you know. It
I
records
can't remember
highlights,
what happened last
further
night.
simplified into a highly
I become
symbolic
Russian.
form, all to lighten the amount of data. We know how the brain reacts to what it was previously aware of. We can even gauge the emotion provoked. But reproducing memories? No. I've seen little progress in research to this area.
But say we directly linked my brainstem with the nanomachines of a brainjacking victim. Couldn't I read their memories?
There have been attempts at such things, but it is not so simple, you know. The connections between successive memories make up
Why
one's
does he want to
identity.
read the memories of
If you
brainjack
disturb
people?
that, for example, say we remove all memories you have of being yourself and replace them with my own.
Yeah.
You would feel you was a great Dr. Wilhelm Vogt. You would behave very similar to how I do. However, what if instead you kept your own memories and we added mine to them? You would feel you are both Raiden and Wilhelm Vogt. Suddenly your memories would not lead one to the next. You would be confused, disoriented, without a sense of which man you were, and thus how you should behave. So, you see, the very concept is not practical for most military applications. In trying to read an enemy's mind, you would, in a sense, become that enemy.
Sun Tzu would totally do it, though.
You wouldn't know which side you were fighting for.
Don't know, and I don't have a
Precisely.
damn. Next up,
Cyborg
Vietnam.
memories are completely different, of course. A cyborg's visuals are often monitored by outside parties, much as we do with yours. This visual data can, of course, be recorded for later analysis. All with full video and all in the holographic memory in their left hands.
So you can just sit back and enjoy the movie?
Sit back with your
It's
left
not
hand and enjoy the
always
movie.
recorded, mind you. And even then, there's the issue of locating the desired data buried inside all that video. You might need to comb 10 days of recordings from 10 cyborgs to find a single person or document. That is 100 days of work. Even replay double speed, 50 days.
Can't you automate the search?
Of course. You can flag any time a certain face appears or if certain words are said. But the process is not perfect, and it still requires time, you know. Besides which, often one doesn't know what they are searching for until they find it. But
And
should
I
you
still
ever
haven't
require
found what I'm
search
looking
through your
for.
memory, Raiden, I would be happy to assist you.
Yeah, for a modest fee, I'm sure.
I will not deny that.
I have to say, Doc, It's almost scary everything nanomachines are capable of.
Sop.
Brain jacking.
Oh, but the cyborg is capable of even more.
It can jack giant
I
brains.
do. With nanomachines. You know this name has always bothered me, nanomachine.
And the way it's
They are much
repeated
more than
constantly in
smaller
these
versions of
games.
existing machines. So much more. You cannot just take a motor and make it all teeny tiny, you know? A human chromosome is 10 micrometers long, roughly. A nanometer is 1/100th that length. These devices must be crafted at the molecular level to work at that scale. It is far more to do with molecular biology than mechanical engineering.
Is it?
Okay, Doc. But where are you going with it?
It is, however, now possible to
Yeah,
create
they timed that
proteins
wrong. It's
that
like he's
simulate
supposed to be
viral functions.
cutting Raiden off and like be this blowhard, but they have two large. It's not two voice actors sitting together and talking. They're editing together individual lines from individual voice actors. So you have Raiden leaving plenty of space to continue his word, and then they.
After all, these
Yeah,
molecules and proteins can only make use of
I've
the material
clearly
at
lost
hand.
interest in what they're talking
That
about in
is
the
to say,
game, but
the atoms
still, I've
that
got this weird
naturally occur
completionist
within the
vibe where
human
I've got to
body.
hear it all.
I'm not sure I follow. Are you saying cyborg tech is already more advanced than nanomachines?
Yes, nanomachines
Well,
suck.
not necessarily. But the potential for future growth.
The other thing
seems
is I'm
much
so
greater,
disinterested in what
does it not?
Doctor says that I'm
That
always
means
worried
the
I've heard
only
these 3
real
times
range
over
that
and
is
was never paying
already there.
attention and don't know.
Boost one ability too far, and you might take away from another. If the human race is to truly evolve, I believe we must shed this DNA-driven organic flesh
Ugh.
and exchange it for something far more functional.
I want a super robot body, that's what I'm saying.
Suited to this purpose, at least in terms of military applications. But then, who knows? A revolution in nanotechnology could be occurring even as we speak. Progress rarely takes the form we expect, you know. Such is the great frustration and glory of science.
Creepy. I really want to see this through so I can call it a video. This will be an entire video of codec calls, but at least we'll be back to action after this.
Doc, I'm seeing desperado cyborgs explode here after I take them down.
Pretty cool, huh?
For security purposes, I would imagine. Cyborgs often use classified tech from suppliers who take great pains.
Okay, I think I've heard
This is
this
his
one.
name. You should be more concerned with the potential they could damage, though to think on it, just in case it would survive the
Yeah.
You must remove the hands before, remember?
Okay, I think we've heard that one before. Whether we have or not, it's over now. When we come back next time, actual action. See you then.